on Clubhouse Gas, we're lucky enough to be joined by friend of the show, James Armstrong, a longtime youth sports referee. And he's going to take us through some of the rules of the game. So stay tuned. It's Clubhouse Gas.
This is James with rules of the game of basketball. Some of the things that you may have wondered about and what everybody seems to know except the official who's calling the ball game. One of the first things that you're confused when you're watching the NBA because it's never called. That's a traveling call. And there are strict guidelines as to what's a travel, and if you watch NBA basketball, you'll never guess it by the number of steps they take. You are legally allowed a step and a half, which looks like 2 steps, but on the second step, you have to release the ball on either a pass or a shot attempt on the second step. So that means you get a step and a half, because if you take 2 steps and stop, it's a traveling violation. You never see it in the NBA. But you got to take into consideration that most of them finish off a slam dunk that thrills the crowd, and you never worry about if they took 4 steps or not, because everybody can't slam it like that. But generally, you have to stay within those guidelines. Another tricky one is the pivot foot, and the place of that determines whether or not it's a travel. Once you establish a pivot foot, meaning the first foot to hit the court after you gain control of the ball, becomes your pivot foot. Now, you can pivot with a free foot all day, unless you happen to be in the lane, and we'll get to that in a minute. It'll be a 3-second call. But you can pivot all the way around a 360 or backwards and forward as long as the pivot foot stays anchored. One instance, which few people know, you can raise that pivot foot on a pass or an attempted shot without violating the traveling rule. You can raise up the pivot foot, and everybody says if he moves his pivot foot, it's a travel. But it's not if he passes or shoots, okay? That means he could come to a stop, establish a pivot foot, and then pivot around, and then raise that pivot foot in a shot attempt or a pass. That's a little known rule, and the general public is not expected to know that rule, and they always react to it. Now, the 3-second call that everybody wants to count for you. And on a good day, I've been known to tell them, you know, sometimes I say when they yell 3 seconds, I said, on a good day, I can count all the way to 5. And I say that with tongue-in-cheek, and they usually accept it that way. But the rules of that 3 seconds is you cannot be in the offensive lane space for more than 3 seconds when your team has the ball in the front court. Emphasis on the front court. You cannot call a 3-second violation if you're camped out in the lane and the ball is in the back court, meaning the mid-court dividing line. If they're in the back court, nothing counts as far as the 3 seconds call is made. Also, each time a shot is attempted, the 3-second call recycles, meaning once the ball leaves the shooter's hand, the 3-second call is discontinued until that same team maintains control again, regains control of the ball. That's a hard one for the fans, because they see these people keep shooting the ball and somebody's camped out in the lane the whole time, and they says, come on, ref, are you blind? That's got to be 3 seconds. And then the coaches get involved, and they says 3, 4, 5. And usually I warn them if they get to 6, they got a technical foul, because I want to remind them, my worst day of math, I can count up to 3. And those are a couple of rules of the game.